hearing the bloody word, well, you didn't say that, but the word collaboration. It's a very, very interesting thing because, as you say, it's such a term for industrial capital to use. And in a way, it gets stripped out of it as any real meaning, because everybody knows the collaboration between profit-making entities is only so far. If the process of being together works against your ability to reproduce capital, then you get out of the collaboration speedily. And that's very different, And I think you're very, very right. I think it would be fascinating to place this collaboration within the context of both COVID and the structures of international collaboration that come out of high carbon structures. Okay, we're not flying around the world, but we need a lot of juice just to keep this thing going. I mean, to talk to each other, we need a lot of power stations.
Yeah, to also add to that, I think, talking about collaboration, almost like if you take out some end goals away, let's say if you take out to produce something, so then what is the point of it? Is it to generate something? Is it to kind of stimulate ideas? I think that is something that is maybe through the online forum is a bit different, because I always imagine for Zoom, I can see 6 people. It always feels like we're sitting in a circle all the time or something. But if we were, in a bar or something after the meeting, it's a bit more informal. You can kind of discuss things that are less, you don't feel on high alert, because it's like, oh, what did you think about the thing I said? So all those kind of tacit things are kind of a bit lost. So you are probably forced to produce in these kind of settings a little bit more, rather than the normal way of just sometimes informally generating ideas and kind of talking around it.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a really great comment. It's great. Yeah. Any other comments? I mean, clearly this calls for an in-person meeting. Alex, sorry.
I think there's also, just simply what we're studying and, what we're dealing with is so fascinating. I think it's, at least, the reason why I'm still on this project, even though my position ran out a year ago, is because, I always feel like we're on the cusp of trying to understand something that's a lot greater than ourselves in a way. We've gone through a period, in the last 2 years, we've gone through a period where there's been record low prices. Oil has been in the negative to now record high prices. And one thing that always frustrates me is I always feel like we're on the grasp of understanding this, but then it's shifts and you're always behind it in a way. But I think this group kind of serves as a little therapy group for that, understanding, trying to get through, you have someone to be with and talk about it in a way. This is what the oil industry did today. Which has been, so that's the attraction in a way. You have a group of, people that you can kind of work these things out, together. And, where you can show things, you can show your data, you can show your transcripts and everything. And you always get good feedback and good conversations afterwards. So, but if one thing, that I am frustrated is just never being able to get a step ahead of the industry, because it's just shifting all the time, and it's impossible to pin down. And I think connected to what, Gavin was saying about, why can't we, what's easy, why don't we make an opinion or something like that? It's hard to make a statement on it, an authoritative statement. This is what's happening in the industry. Because it's changing all the time, so.
No, and that's true, and kind of what William commented on that now in the comments in the chat is also this, the slow research or the slowness of the research project, a process where there's there's a benefit to that. No, it gives you time to think and to really, wrap your head around something. But then when it's so fast moving, and when I think again that politicization comes in as well, where we are almost expecting it of ourselves. Others are expecting of us to have an opinion, which is different from being able to write a research paper on something, to sort of take a stand and speak authoritatively, as you said. Yeah. So there are others. Nana, were you? Or you? No? Anyone else? Or do we have do we need to wrap up? Gavin, you're in charge here.
I think if there were a couple of more things I would like us to at least be able to mention before we need to go. Thank you for doing this, Gisa, and James, the collaboration around this, putting this together for us. Really good, really important that we're doing it. And I'm so glad you've done it in this way. I have a lot more I'd like to say, but I'll try not to say it.
Why not?
Well, no, because only because I don't want to monopolise the channel, and it's really important that we hear everyone has a chance to say what they think about it. There's a tremendous amount to be said, I think, around the probing. What's the desire to collaborate? Where does that come from? And so part of it is a structural norm, and it's inbuilt into various funding schemes and into kind of objectives and things like that. So it becomes the norm, or a desirable, not desired norm. But it's more than that. I think there's something in there about. Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. In a everyday recognition of it, recognizing that my own knowledge of stuff is incredibly limited, and that I only get better at what I'm trying to understand through talking to other people. And sometimes that's additive, as in we're all on the same page and it kind of extends. Other times it's really disruptive. And, it's painful, frankly, because it's, it's like, I thought I knew something and now I really don't at that kind of level, but it's also actually the framework of reference by which you started to understand this has limitations to it. So part of the collaboration is that creative destructive work. It's constantly chipping away at, probing, putting up for question the not only the factual stuff or even the interpretive stuff. It's actually the framing, the structures by which you order your thoughts. What comes up what comes to the surface in that's what I found really productive about it. And it's not straightforwardly comfortable. But at some level you think, well, I'm growing in some way as a consequence of this. And that ultimately, why do it if, what's the point otherwise? So there is some kind of, fairly visceral interest in this because it is at some level about challenging what I think I know. And this collaboration does that every single day, and I'm totally thankful for it. But it's not the only venue in which that happens. And I think that is something about, I would say, is valuable to collaboration. Is about that kind of churn of ideas. The issue comes when you, and this is partly come up this sort of temporality. We're partly our outputs, to go back to that frame of reference, is a fixity in space and time. It's a statement. So your point, Alex, the sector's always changing. Absolutely. But we can't say that in a publication. We have to kind of come up with analysis of this point in time. So we have to kind of commit to some explanation now and a frame of reference and a set of constructions and et cetera, et cetera. And of course that's totally fine. That's how it is. But it does make it's really interesting, isn't it? The idea of expanding your understanding through a set of fixed statements that you kind of come out with. Anyway, that's why I said I wouldn't say more, because I tend to go off on a personal rant. So perhaps we could draw that to an end temporarily, and I look forward to picking this up again. I'm also inspired by your collective encouragement to do things in person. And The issue here will always be, can we get our